We got up about 4:30 in the morning, and there is this rush to get you on the balloon as soon as possible. They do a safety briefing. The safety briefing went through, in my limited knowledge of ballooning, it went through the basics of what would happen when you land and what happens when you take off. But it was quite rushed because there is this pressure to get as many people as possible into the baskets before dawn, before the end of dawn, so that you can see these absolutely spectacular views of the whole of Luxor. We took off at what looks like the same site, the same location, and this was in January this year. We took off at the same place. There was about 20 of us in the basket. We were quite surprised by the number of people who were effectively crammed into that basket. It did feel quite tight. We had an interesting experience when we landed. They were telling us that everything was fine, we were okay, but it took quite a long time to actually land the balloon. They were trying to find a site, and at one stage we clipped a small tree. We landed just a few centimetres away from a ditch. And that was quite an experience for those people in the balloon. There was, people were quite unnerved. They were quite scared at that time, and there was a limited amount of explanation as to what was going on at the time. We were going fairly close to pylons, for example, fairly close to trees below us, and that made it quite a nervous experience for those who were in the basket. It's a very interesting experience going on the hot air balloon because the views are absolutely extraordinary. They're totally spectacular. You go incredibly high into the sky and you see these beautiful temples, you see the extraordinary landscape and the lush fields, the sugarcane fields below you. But taking off and landing is a surprisingly intimidating experience. I was quite surprised by how scared I was. And we'd done checks, we'd looked into all of this, we'd spoken to the right people, we'd gone out there with a very reputable holiday company who recommended this particular company who were doing the hot air balloon tours. So we'd done our homework, but even so, it was still a relatively scary experience, and the safety checks were quite short, to be honest. So I do feel relief today, yes.